Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now, we've done a lot of puzzles over the last few days from the World Sudoku Championship, which took place in Germany a couple of weeks ago. But I've also had about 8 or 9 emails from competitors at the World Puzzle Championship, which took place just after the World Sudoku Championship, requesting particular puzzles from that competition. Now, I'm going to take a look at this puzzle today, which is called Japanese Sums and Products, and this has been requested by Freddie Hand, part of the UK team. Freddie deserves special mention for me because he's a very young competitor, but already something of a name in the puzzling world. He's had puzzles published on gmpuzzles.com, which is a wonderful puzzling site, and he's also performed fantastically well in the World Puzzle Championship. He managed to beat David McNeil, who is a stalwart of the British team, and that is quite phenomenal for me. Now, Freddie has asked me to look at this puzzle. This is a puzzle by Gabi Penn-Karras, by the way, because Freddie said that he loved a lot of the puzzles in the World Puzzle Championship, but this for him was the most beautiful, and that is high praise indeed from a from a fellow puzzle setter, if you like. For a puzzle setter to appreciate the beauty of a puzzle, there must be something really special about this. So I'm going to try and take a look at it for you today. Now, I've never done a Japanese sums and products puzzle before. I have done a Japanese sums puzzle, so we're going to read in a moment about how this differs and see if we can solve it. Now, one thing my eyes are drawn to is a 65-point puzzle. Now, the best solvers in the world try and go at about 10 points a minute, if my memory serves me right. So in theory, this is a 6 or 7 minute puzzle for the best in the world. Obviously, it will take us slightly longer because we'll have to talk through it and work on the logic. Now, let's look at how this puzzle works. So enter numbers from 1 to 6 into the grid. Now, I suspect this is a mistake because Freddie says that I have to enter numbers 1 to 7 in his email. So I think we have to enter numbers 1 to 7 in our grid, so that each number appears at most once in each row and column. Okay, that's like Sudoku. And shade the remaining cells. The numbers outside the grid describe the contents of the respective row or column. Each number corresponds to a contiguous group of numbers, possibly a single number, and indicates either the sum or the product, or possibly both of those numbers. Okay. 2 such groups are separated by 1 or more shaded cells, and for each row and column, the numbers outside the grid are shown in the correct order. So, okay, a bit like a nonogram for those of you used to that form of puzzle. So let's just take a look at, I think if we look at the right-hand grid of the example solution, that will tell us all we need to know. So let's have a look at this. I see. So if we look at the first row, it's got a 2 clue, which is just the number 2, it turns out. That has to be separated from the 12 clue, so there's then a black square, and then the 12 clue is a 3, 4 and a 1. So that's presumably on the basis that 3 times 4 times 1 is equal to 12. But we don't know before we set out whether the 12 is going to be a sum or a product. So looking at the number 13, that might be a good place to start in our real puzzle. 13 is prime, and therefore that's going to have to be a sum, and you can see 3, 5, 1 and 4 do add up to 13. Right, so it's going to be a puzzle where we have to divide the grid cleverly. This is the real puzzle. If you want to have a go, click on the link under the video and you can have a go at Gabi's puzzle. Now, I am looking forward to this because, yeah, it's obviously got such high praise from Freddie, and I've done 1 or 2 of Gabi's puzzles before, so I think this is going to be stellar. And I'm now staring at it, trying to work out how to start it. Right, well, I think, right, okay, so 1 to 7, what do the numbers, if we add up all the numbers from 1 to 7 inclusive, what do we get? We get 28. So, the first thing I suppose I would note is that any of these clues, like this column or this row, that add up to more than 28 must include at least 1 multiplication. So there are a few rows and columns where that's true. 2 15s, 2 18s, 3 12s, 3 10s. So all of those must include 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Ah, right, okay. And this is an 8 by 8 grid. So let's look at the 12 clues, because 12, obviously, that must be at least 2 cells to make 12, whether we're doing a sum or a product. So the first could be there, 2, then there'd have to be a gap of at least 1 cell, then another 2, and then another 2. So in fact, this 12, 12, 12 must be of this form. We can't have a 3-cell answer to any of these 12 clues. So I'm going to highlight green cells for those that must contain a digit, and black cells obviously for those that don't contain a digit. Okay, and we can do the same with these 10s, can't we? Because 10, again, that must be at least 2 cells, so the same pattern must be true of that column. Okay, right, so 18, that is also interesting because one of these exactly must be multiplication, because 3 times 6 equals 18, or I suppose 3 times 6 times 1 also equals 18, but then there's no other way of getting a multiplication sum equal to 18 because I can't use 9. So the other side, the other 18 clue, will have to be a summation, and that will require at least 3 cells. Actually, it's going to require 4 cells because we're going to have to use 3 and 6 for one of these. So this row is going to break down as a 3 and a 6 multiplication, which is going to have to be over here, and then 4 cells that add up to 18, which 2, 4, 5, and 7. So if it's 4, either this 4 or this 4 will have to be the summation. So these 3 are always green. These 2 cells are 3 and 6. And I don't yet know whether the black square is here or here. Right. 14. Ah, okay, so 14, what's the maximum number of cells 14 could be? It can't be 5 cells because the 5 cells would have to be 15. It would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's 50. So the most number of cells 14 can be is 4. So given we know this cell is in 2, 3, 4, these 2 cells are not in. Let's put that in. Right, so these 2 green cells, this green cell must be part of a 15 clue. That must be at least 2 cells. And similarly, this 12 clue must be at least 2 cells. There are 2, so there's 2 columns and 1 row that have no clue at all. So it's worth, that's another thing, another little tip I suppose, is often you find in puzzles like this where there's gaps left, it's because these gapped clues would be incredibly helpful. So imagine if this clue here was 28. That would obviously be incredibly helpful. So sometimes setters remove this sort, very, very revealing clues in order to make puzzles harder. So we should definitely keep an eye on these open columns and rows. This 12 clue, that can be a maximum of 4 cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 2 cells are black. And now there must be one of these 14 clues must be in these 3 cells because we can't fit 2 14 clues below it. And 14 must be at least 2 cells because the minimum it could be would be 2 times 7. So this square is green. Therefore, this square is green because it's part of a 16. Ooh, 16 is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. 16 can't be a multiplication clue because if it was, it would have to be 4 times 4 or 4 times 2 times 2, and either of those repeat a digit. So 16 must be summation, and therefore it must be 3 cells, or 4 cells. But it can't be 2 cells. That... Now, I'm just wondering, I've got 3 7s in this column. Now, and these 2 cells are definitely green. Now, is it possible? I don't think it is possible. If I have a 3-cell clue for a 7, how could I do that? The only way would be if they were 1, 2, and 4, and it was a summation clue. So 1, 2, 4, black square. This square could be a 7, and then I would have to have a 2-cell clue. Now 7 is prime, so that this would have to be a 2-cell summation clue that added up to 7 without using 1, 2, and 4. That's not possible. That's not possible. Oh, that's very clever. So this is a 2-cell clue there. Must be surrounded by black squares. This must be a green square because I need to put 3 clues that add 7, and these 2 are green. So this square is a 7. So we get our first digit at 11 minutes into the video. And that's, what's that telling me? I don't know. Well, this black square, that helps with the 15s. That this square must be black now across the top. And these 2 squares must be... this is interesting. These 2 squares are 1 15 clue. Now, the only way of making 15 in 2 squares is if these 2 clues are 3 and 5. That's got to be multiplication. So these 2 squares, this must be a 3-square summation now. And I think that, does that have to be 7, 6, and 2? 6 and 2. I think it does actually. Now hang on, that's... Well, also this, we've got 3 6s down the final column. Now, I think I've got a problem with 6. I could make as 3, 2, and 1. 3 plus 2 plus 1, or I guess 3 times 2 times 1 also equals 6. But if I do that, I think I'll run into the same problem I have with the 7s. So I'd have to put 6 on its own, and then I'd have to have a 2-cell summation without using a 1, 2, and a 3. That's not possible. So this square is black because I definitely can't have a 3-cell 6 clue. And if that square is 6 on its own, it must be a 6. So this is 6, 2, 7. This square now must be 5 or 3. 5 if it's 2 times 5, 3 if it's 3 plus 7. God, this plays with your head, this. Now this 12 clue therefore must be either 5 plus 7 or 3 times 4. This square must be a 3. This is a 6. This must be 2 cells, therefore, because it can't be 3 cells. We've already discussed that. This must be 2 cells. It can't be 3 cells. So this must be 3 times 2. And that must be green, because that's part of the 12 clue. A 12 clue cannot be 5 squares. So this square is black. This square is green now, because it's part of a 12. This is beautiful, isn't it? The way this is unraveling, it sort of spirals. You get one little bit of logic, and it leads to so much. Now, what can I do next? So 6, 2, 3. The final 6 clue here must be a summation. It must be 1, 5. It's the only way of doing that. This square now must be, can't be a 1. That's impossible. So this is a 5 and a 7. This is a 1. And now I am stuck again. Oh no, I'm not. This 7, look, that resolves that. 4, that's a 3, that's a 7, and that's a 2. 3 lots of 5. How can we do that? That could be 1 5 on its own, and then a 2. Yeah, 5 is prime, so it has to be 2 summations as well as that. So it must be 2 plus 3, 1 plus 4, and 5 on its own. Now that's 5 cells, so let's just count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. 2 black squares between them. So there is no room in this row. We can't have 2 black squares together in this row, so this must be green. That must be black. Can't have 2 black squares together. That must be green. That must be black. That must be green, and therefore that square is a 5. Beautiful. That resolves the 3 and the 5 at the top. Let's get the cursor out of the way. This square must be green now, because 14 can't be made. 3 obviously doesn't divide into 14, so 14 is arithmetic. These 2 cells must sum to 11 without using a 5. So it must be 4 and 7. And there's a 4 here. Blimey. 4, 7. This square is black now, because 18, I think that had to be 2, 4, 5, 7. So black square. These 3 squares now are 2, 5 and 7. You can see the 5 here resolves that. 7 here resolves that. This must be a 2 or a 5 now to give 7 in the column. This we don't know about. Now maybe this one's restricted. That can be a 6. This can't be a 5 because that would make, let's put a 7 into this square, and this, if this is 7, then this is 5. No, right, so we've got 2 7 pair now. So this is a 5, this is a 2. These 2 add up to 9, so we need these 2 squares to add up to 7. So this cannot be a 5. This is a 6, this is a 2, this is a 1, and this is a 7 because of the 2 here. Wow. Right. What next? Now, hang on. Look, we've got 12 clues here intersecting. Oh, that is so clever. Look at this. Look at this, these 12s intersecting. So we've used 5, 7 here. So the other alternatives for 12 must be multiplication because they're both 2 cells. Now the only way we can do that with the numbers we're allowed to use are 2 times 6 and 3 times 4. But look, 2 and 6. These 2 squares have to be 3 and 4. These 2 squares have to be 2 and 6. Slightly surprised I can't resolve that, but this square must be green because it's part of a 12 clue. There's only one 12 clue below this black line. I don't know about that square yet. 14 is not divisible by 3 or by 4. So this is a summation to 14, which must require 3 cells. So that square is green. Oh, now look. Now this 14 thing. That means there's got to be a black square there, because if there isn't, I haven't got enough room for the second 14 clue. So this square is green. This could be a sum, or it could be a product still, because 7 obviously divides into 14. 7, 10. Whoa, we've got loads of digits now in this column. Two's here. So the 5 clue, we need 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 4. Well, this one can't be a 2 and a 3, so this one is a 2 and a 3, and look, we can place them. 3, 2. This must be 1 and... oh, I don't believe it doesn't resolve. 1, 4. So this square must be it can't be a 7. It could have been 1 times 7 but for the 7 there. So it can be 1 and 6 or 4 and 3. 4 and 3 if I could type properly. Still can't tell how to resolve that. This square must be green. And this square, oh, that square can still be green or black. What do I do now? This square too. There's go. That's got to be a 5. It still doesn't resolve that one. These two squares now must be 4 and 6. It's the only other way of making 10. That isn't resolved. What? How is this going to resolve? The reason I'm a bit nervous about this is, look, there's this column. I might have made a mistake here, because there's this column I've got no clue in, and this row I've got no clue in. So how am I going to resolve this square? Worried. Okay. Let's look at this 12 clue. Right, if this... Ah, that is beautiful. Look at this clue here. Look at this 4. If this is a 4, what happens? That's forced to be a 3. So we have a 4 here and a 3 here, and you may say, well, that's fine. And it is fine. 4 times 3 is 12, so we could put a 1 here. But we can't put a 1 here because there's a 1 there. And you may say, well, then it could be a summation clue. 4, 3. If it's a summation, that's a 5. So this 1 and 5 here are perfect for meaning this square here cannot be a 4. That is gorgeous. 1, 4, 3. Now, what are the options then for this? This could still be multiplication, in which case that would be 4. Or could it be addition? That would require these two to add to 11, and this would have to be a 7. Really? What am I missing there? Is that not resolvable? Ah! Right, so we've done that one. This could still be... This could be 2, 6 if this was 1, so that's okay. 5 here, this must be addition. Whoa, this is not easy. I think I'm on the verge of cracking it, but I still can't quite see how to do it. This 4, 6, neither divide into 14, so this is summation and must be three digits. Whoa! Now this column has got 7 green squares in it, so this must be a black square because we have to use all of the digits now in this column. So this, how on earth are you meant to do this in 6 minutes? This must be 1 and 5 into these two squares. So this 14 clue now, can we do anything with this? If this is 1, this would have to be 6, and this would have to be it can't be 7. So this can't be 1. So that's 5, 1 like that. This could still be multiplication. This is definitely addition. 4, 6 would put a 3 here, that works. 5, 4 would put a 5 here, that doesn't work, that repeats the 5. So this is 6. This is a 4. Now that does mean this is a summation, so this square is coloured. And this square is a 3, and that's a 4, and that's a 3, which means this is a multiply, and that's a 4. And this could be a 7. Oh no, hang on, it can't be a 7 because of this is 12 clue resolves it. This is a 5, which means this is a 2. 2. My God. Oh, 6 and 7 to place. Now I can't put a 7 into that square, so there must be a 6. 2, 6. And I can't put a 7 here. That's how this square gets resolved. Wow. So this square is a black square, and hopefully I can resolve these two squares now. What's this? This adds up to 13, so that's, oh no, whoops, that's got to be a 1. So this has got to be a 2, which works. Oh, good lord. What a puzzle that is. That is an absolutely beautiful puzzle. Is this 7 deliberate? This black square 7 here? I wonder. I wonder. This puzzle is a work of art. Absolutely beautiful. My hat is off to Gabi. I don't know how you go about creating that, but it's just a superb puzzle. Interesting as well that if this column had been filled in, look, we'd have had a big, it would have been a big reveal. It would have added up to 28, and this first clue would have been very, very helpful. Fantastic, loved it. So that is our first puzzle from the World Puzzle Championship on the channel this year. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments. Love to hear your feedback on this, and I hope that you guys appreciate it as much as I do. Thank you very much, Freddie, for recommending it. Brilliant. See you soon on Cracking the Cryptic.